Good evening and heartiest greetings from India. Uh, I welcome all the valuable followers of Sheetalnath Conversations across the country and the globe. Ravishing echoes of the distant, ancient, uh, eras and the contemporary times. From monarchy to the democracies, from triumphs to the tyrannies, and from this autumn to the spring, from on-day knowledge to the very ancient wisdom and sciences, and from men and matters to the public in general. Shitalath conversation has been able to do justification and connect with the essence of Shitalath, essence of Kashmir, its civilization, its culture, its bustle, its glittering of its hamlets and the towns and the streets, and the people, and all the musicology and literature, art and architecture, nature's amphitheater, and the singing brooks. So Shitala's conversation, in a way, has been able to, by and large, come near to these vibes and strings of our civilization. And our visitors till now have been meticulously contributing in this wonderful stream of Sheetalnath conversations, and it has brought up and built up a very great edifice of the people who are the followers of this program. They include the intellectuals, and they include the diaspora, the seekers, the quality seekers, and all kind of people who are interested in these kind of programs. I am very indebted to all the wonderful visitors who have been visiting us till date with their great, anecdotes, their first-hand experiences about their lives, and then putting it into their knowledge about the past and their wisdom, and also the people in general, the spectators, the keen spectators who adore this program very much. Dayanand Saraswati has said somewhere that now the music is it is it, it transcends the knowledge, it transcends the language, it transcends the culture, it transcends the time, and its notes are fixed. But Indian classical music has always been sophisticated and evolved one, with the fixed melodious, you know, tones and the notes. Having said that, I would like to say Kashmir, time immemorially, has been a center of music. If we go into the ancient scriptures, they are engraved with the musicology, right from the Abhinav Gupta, Acharya Abhinav Gupta's, this Abhinav Bharati, which is a commentary on Bharat Muni's Nati Shastra, and even Bharat Muni's Nati Shastra, because Bharat Muni is also said to be the native of the Kashmir. Katha Sarit Sagar by Somananda has a glow, is glow with the musical explanations. And then we have the Kalhans, Raj Tarangani, and we have the Nilmat Puran, the Sharang Dev, who is considered to be one of the great pioneer of the Karnataka stream of the Indian classical music, and also who has composed this. Sangeet Ratnakar is also. He has his origin from Kashmir. He hails from his forefathers had come from the Kashmir. So we have a number of stories about that, and a number of scriptures which are explored, and many which are not, which are yet to be explored. And there are many, a vast number of them which have been devastated by the invaders in the past. But that is the past, ancient past, the glorious past. Coming to the contemporary times, we have seen, and I mean, a lot of synthesis is going on, from traditional music to the folk music to the show music to the what do you call it, Sufi music, and to the all the entire musical forms in Kashmir how, I mean, gradually grown into, reached to a stage of synthesis and evolution. We had the great melodious people, like, the queen of melody, which is known as Raja Begum. I remember her song that Mashrav Thas Janan Chakar Yaad Kamay, because I used to compare it Al Jazeera Radio Jammu Pamposh program, and she used to sing. She was a folk singer, but her voice was so ethereal. She was not properly trained. And then we had Gulam Hassan Sofi Saab, who used to do sing the traditional music and all kind of musics. It was all about that fusion of Shaivism and Sufism. And then we had the great ghazalist Vijay Mallaji, and we had three nightingales singers, melodies from Kashmir. One of them being Padam Shri, um, it is Shamima Azad ji, and then Kailash Mehra Sadhu ji, and the third one was Arti Tiku Kaul. Today, we are very much privileged and very happy, with very joyous mood. We are inviting one among these three nightingales of Kashmir, melodies of Kashmir, the great singer Arti Tiku Kaul. She'll be live with us from Boston, and where she lives with her family since 1993. She is a legendary singer, with a very vast background of training from the Gavaliar Gharana, and she has also done his study. She has been the alumni of the Kashmir and Punjab University in the Indian classical music. She has also been the great faculty, reputed faculty of Indian Institute of Music at Fine Arts, Srinagar. Besides that, she has also been training and performing in the country where she lives, at the Boston, since last 3 decades. She's a very widely traveled, widely awarded, widely acclaimed singer. She has a very, very sweet voice, and I think today we have an opportunity to at least tell our youngsters, to reach to our youngsters, the generation next, who will understand the greatness of these great legendary singers from Kashmir. Her albums are very. She has produced many albums, and they are very, very famous albums. One is about this Lalwak. It is a great contribution. She has done it into two parts. It is a very popular album, and then there are other things like, she has also done Yar Lakshar is another. This, I don't remember all of these, but she has done a wonderful contribution. I was listening to her music in the morning. It is so pathetic; it directly seeps into your hearts. And such a wonderful singer, and we are really, really privileged to have her with us. So, without any much delay, let us welcome uh, Mrs. Arti Tiku Kaul from Boston, and with great reverence and affection to the Shitalath Conversation studio. Arti ji, you are welcome to the Shitalath Conversations Sunday evening show. It's a great privilege to have you on our show. I think you must be having a very wonderful morning there
Yes.
at Boston. I hope you are enjoying it and you are in the great spirit. You're welcome.
First of all, namaskar Jugalji, and namaskar to your audience, the vast community that you have through this Shitanath conversations. I have listened to some of these episodes through your links and through the YouTube, um, and I'm very, very impressed with this format. It is something different. It's something new. Um, and the way you carry your guest through those conversations makes it very interesting. So congratulations on doing this, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Atiji. It's a great honor to have you with us. It is a joyous moment. We are going to experience your entire journey, crisscross through those days, those wonderful days in Kashmir, and then your music, evolution of your music and development of your music. Certainly, it's a great day and great occasion. Uh, but as per the Shishtachar, as per the Tehzeeb of the Mahfils, it is always said that whenever you are in a conversation with some great legendary melody singer, musician, it is always good to have a rendition of at least some one particular notes or the song. So I request you if you would please elucidate us with one of your recitations of one of your most popular lines.
Sure. As you said, it's early morning here. Um, my voice is still waking up to the morning, and I will do my best. I will sing a small couplet from the Lalwak. Um, they are very close to my heart, and I'll sing a couple of those for you. Ako'y omkaryus naibitare kumbai brahmanda su sumgare आँख माथर युसतस करे तस सास माथर करे क्या Chorus प्रथम सास लटे Yasn kehmana tas kyana prasan prasan thachistalosus kehnanishe kya tha कहने से क्या था उम्र. These are a couple of couplets. I mean, I have done a lot of work on Lalwak, but these came to my mind to start
This is
the program.
this is very much evocative. It touches the heart. And Laleshwari, and then your voice. I mean, it's wonderful combination, fusion. I was really engrossed.
Thank you, Ji.
Certainly, I wanted to continue to the listen, but we have the format of the program. Uh, you know, Artiji, this is our program is basically an anecdotal program. It's based on the experiential things about the visitor, his experiences in Kashmir.
Mhm.
We look at Kashmir through his prism as a childhood, since childhood, what he has witnessed or he or she has witnessed, and the entire this rapture landscape, the beauty, the waterways, the mahalla, the social ecology, the culture, the harmony, the bonhomie, and then the streets, then the institutions, then when it matters, the people who inspired, and some nannies, grandies,
Yes.
siblings, friends, soulmates, and the entire Kashmir. Let's go. Jog at your back lane to the valley in your infant days, and let's find out what treasures lie there.
Sure. I will. Thank you, first of all, to invite me to this program and, allow me to kind of walk through this journey. I mean, the journey is in my head. It sometimes is there, and we are not able to uh, give the whole scenario to anybody or talk about the experiences. But thank you for this opportunity. It
My pleasure.
really gives a guest as well a pleasure to talk about some of the things that they probably have never talked about. So this kind of is really nice to have.
My pleasure.
I
My
grew
pleasure.
up in Kashmir. I was born and brought up there. I grew up in the locality of Jawahar Nagar, which was when I was about 4 or 5 years old. We moved there. Um, I grew up as a Tiku, Arti Tiku, as was known to everybody who knows me. It's through that my musical years. Um, the Tikus of Ali Kadal, or Nava Kadal as it is called, that's where my ancestral family used to live. We had a very nice, beautiful home there. My grandfather's house was there, and many other Tiku clan, the entire Tiku clan lived there. But I was very young and very, I think about 4 or 5 years. My parents and my sister and brother, were moved to, we moved to Jawaharnagar, but that was my nana and nani's. We moved with them and we stayed there, and that's where I grew up. So my whole concept of home and um, is from that home where we lived in Jawaharnagar. Starting with my schooling, my school, I went to convent, Presentation Convent School.
Presentation on me.
Yes, and it was close by, and so I remember walking to the school every day. It was about a 15, 20 minute walk, which
From
we
Jawaharlal.
from Jawaharnagar to Presentation, and friends and mohalla, some of the girls who were with my friends, we all used to walk to the school every morning. So, to my advantage, I think I grew up in a very, very, very supportive setup. My parents, my grandparents, my sister, the key initiator of my musical, you know, career is my sister. We have a pretty good age gap, but she is my most closest confidant, my closest friend now. And but she is the one who initiated me into the field of music. I must have been about 4 or 5, which my memory is when I was singing, and she recognized the talent, and then everybody used to ask me to sing songs, and I remember singing songs from Guide. That was my
Wow.
earliest memory. My songs from Guide, which
My favorite film. My favorite.
they still remain my favorite songs from the music, and I used to sing Piya to se Nana Lagi Re.
Could you please do it? Just because it's my favorite film. It's my one of the most favorite movie.
Hmm, Piya to se Nana Lagi Re, Nana Lagi Re, जाने क्या हो अब आगे रे, नैना लागे रे पिया तो से, नैना लागे रे, चांद को रात को जब चांद चमके जल उठे तन मेरा, मैं कहूँ मत करो चंदा उस गली का फेरा. So it was these small little nuances
Beautiful.
of this song, and or even for that matter, the other song "Gata Rahe" or any of the koi. I remember singing the koi.
आज फिर जीने की तमन्ना है.
"Aaj Fir Jeene Ki Tamanna." So these were small little
वहाँ कौन है
things.
तेरा मुसाफिर.
Yeah, as a child, I just copied the song,
Oh,
basically. It was just the technique of that song to pick up each and every nuance of that song, to pick up any murkis, any murkas, things of that song. That was like a challenge to me, and I would just copy it and sing it verbatim the same way. And that's what I was doing as a child. It was nothing beyond that. It was just the song. I would sing it. It was like an activity I would do, and my sister would, on cue, would say, "Come on, sing it," and I would just sing it. Um, and from that point onwards, I will remember. I remember this, that I at that point there was the question of training. Now that I have the talent, and she needs.
your family, your family, you had the siblings and sister, your
Yeah.
parents, your father. And
My
how was the
parents, yeah, please.
locality and people?
Right. So what happened is when we started living in Jawahar Nagar, it was my parents, my sister, and my nana and nani. We used to live together in the Jawahar Nagar house. My brother was a little older, and we have a big age gap between me and my sister and my. So I was the baby sister of the baby of the
Younger.
family. He had already left for his training, and he was outside Kashmir, and so it was me and my sister, very close. So it was that's the time when we I was growing in that atmosphere of getting me the training, giving me every opportunity that you could have was provided to me. So it was never something, I never felt short of anything, and always had this opportunities presented and given to me, support given to me. Even my nana and nani, they would encourage me. And even in the school, the setup in the school, my principal, my teachers encouraged me. So it was, I have no complaints, or I don't think I went through any kind of a struggle, I would say. It was
You 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 studied
was
in
very
presentation. You studied in presentation convent school. Tell us something about the school also. A bit. Yeah.
yeah. So I said, walking up to the school, and it was regular school. I was probably a good student, and loved my school. I loved playing sports.
Oh,
Like I said, I am into a lot of things. I love science. I love sports. I love music,
that's
painting,
great.
drawing. I was good at
Paintings.
drawing. Yes. And then I got initiated into writing as well later years. But in the school time, it was a lot of sports. It was a lot of, I was kind of balancing between doing my music, learning a little bit of art, learning a little bit of dancing. So that's when music and fine arts came about. The school days were, a lot of activities in the school were around extracurricular. We had the opportunity to do sports and plays, and I participated in debates. I
Correct.
participated in musicals, and even any of the plays that happened in the school, I participated in those, and in acting as well.
So you were a kind of a polymath. Polymath.
Yeah, I had a lot of hobbies, you can say. I had a lot of things I wanted to do. So, and that's when the whole thing came about, that I need to concentrate on one particular talent, I guess, to nurture it. And that's where that there was Mr. this Rajinder Rana ji. He was a very close friend of ours, family friend. Friend of my brother and family friend. He is a very prominent tabla player from Jammu.
Okay.
He's no more, but he has a big hand in my starting my getting me into training. My first music training started in Jawahar Nagar itself. It was
Okay.
Mr. Kamal Kishore Jalaji.
He was the
He
guru.
had a small institute, a small little music school in the locality, where a lot of people used to go to that school. And so one day he said, "No, at least you should get training, and she needs to be trained. Has the talent." So he took me and got me there. I was the youngest in that whole crowd, and I remember Shamim was also learning from the same teacher.
Okay.
But
So
she was a little senior to me, and so, but I was the youngest, and I had not even learned to write at that time. I was not able to. I think I could just, 5 6 year 5 years. I
you
remember
were
I
a
got a.
child prodigy. You started going to I mean radio
I
station at the
guess
age of 6. Yeah,
I guess you
I
can
heard
call
about it.
that. Yeah, that's where my training started, and this was because of Rajendra Ranaji and my sister. They both got me admitted to that Kamal Kishore Jalaji's institute. And I remember the competition, children's competition, that I won a prize. I got a first prize there. I have still have a certificate which says first prize for children's competition, and it
Oh,
was
that's great.
five rupees. I still
Five
have,
years was a big amount in those days, but then again, it was a, I mean, honorarium,
and
kind of
it had
respect.
the signature from Bakshi Ghulam Ahmad. So it was signed by the chief minister at the time.
Oh,
Um, so that was where my training started. My whole um, seriousness about training, but I was still a child. I was playing around and then going to the institute in the evenings, but it was dedicated to that every day I had to go to that school. And the one thing I wanted to share with you is that the way I was training at that time was that I could not write any of these ragas or notes or anything. What I could do was just copy. I was very good at pickup.
no.
Picking up things come very naturally to me. So I think that what it did is that I would listen. Somebody would sing it for me or say it for me, and I would just copy it and sing it and
Oh, that's
reproduce it.
great.
There were dedicated girls or students who were writing things for me, and I
Mhm.
would just sing it. That is how my training started, and that's how young I was. Um, and I remember that at that time I was doing this as an activity, kind of. I didn't even know or think that this is something special and that I have something special and I'm doing this. It was just a sports activity. And as soon as I would come out of the got a first prize, I said to my mother, I want to go and play now. You know, that's the first thing that came. I want to go and play with my friends, and I'm just doing this for you guys. And uh, so that's how it started. Very non-seriously, very, but there was so much support. There was so much push from my, and
And
then
because we are talking about your childhood, I want to open up to the entire landscape of Kashmir. Did you? How were your excursions? Did you ever go to the Dunga cruise? Yeah, with the festivities, the temples, and
of
how
course,
was the family harmony with the other rest of the other vicinity people and all the things?
yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, Jawaharnagar, the locality where we lived, it was a lot of. It was a mixed community. We had Kashmiri Pandits and Muslims and
All people live together.
Sikhs living in the same, very good friends with most of the people. The big festivals we celebrated in Lal Mandi. We used to go with my friends and to the temple, and then Navre time we would go to that small park which was called Lal Mandi, and go to the parks once in a while. Like I said, I was a lot into sports, and boys and girls of our neighborhood used to
Okay.
all play together. This is unheard of, of now in Kashmir. Girls
Now this
playing.
is
I was playing soccer. I was playing.
unfortunately.
I was playing hockey and soccer and football and kho and anything in
My
our
goodness.
park next to my home with boys, and which is unheard of. So that era, I don't know where that is lost or is it even there, but the experience was something which probably people may feel surprised, but I had that upbringing of um, having a very open and supportive setup.
Your one of the your I don't know your relatives who was a great from the great engineering family. He went to Bombay, and after returning from he was so revolutionized, and he
Yes, of
created this
course. So
tailor thing. Yeah, yeah. Please tell us
yeah, I
about that
think
also.
the Tikus, which I want to talk about, the Tiku clan, which is from Ali Kadal, and we are a very big, huge clan from Ali Kadal, Nawakadal area.
Okay.
I did not grow up in. I didn't spend too much time there, but we used to go when we moved to Jawaharnagar. Every weekend, me and my sister would go to Nawakadal and spend our time with my uncle uncle's children and my whole other rest of the extended family used to spend time with them. So it bonded us closer, even though we were in Jawaharnagar. We are very bonded. I have cousins living here. We are very close to each other.
Soulmates.
Soulmates, yeah, that period was the way it was. I lost my thought. You were asking about the time
Yeah,
in.
yeah. I was asking about these, your the bonhomie around the festivities and the ecology,
Yes.
going to the Donga cruise, the
Oh yeah,
celebrations,
I remember one
celebration.
Donga cruise. I went in, and this was the entire Tiku family, and this was we started. I don't remember which area we started from, but I was picked up from convent school. I was in my uniform. They picked me up on the shore of the Jhelum somewhere, and we went on this long Donga ride through the Jhelum and for a couple of days, and I had that is one thing that comes to my mind. I through the nights, and we went through the, I think it was up to Tulmul. We did,
Tulamula.
yeah.
And you had a great experience going
That
to
was
Tulamula
that
temple,
was fun. I mean, we were playing with the cousins and all. We were all together and playing around and
Chinar,
having
under the
fun
Chinar
under
trees,
the
Chinar
chinar.
trees.
Yes, the Tulmul experience, even though it was just, I remember going to Tulmul, that journey through through the roads. It was vast open fields on the sides, and I still have those images set in my head. The ride was so kind of pleasureful, and we used to look forward to it. And then in 2011, I went back to Kashmir and we took the same ride. I could not find those fields. I could not find any of those green pastures. And I was wondering, is
Everything
this the
gone.
same road? Is this the same road? Because there are houses everywhere. So, and it
Water
was
bodies.
just like we were quickly there. And I remember was comparing that journey with my journey of
Presence.
so many years back when we used to go to Tulmul.
We are talking about your cousin, your relatives who went to
Right.
Bombay.
I was going to tell you about that. So my father um, has my father and his brothers. He had two brothers and one sister. My father, I think what I picked up the talent I have is a lot of it is from him. He was a kind of a multifaceted, talented person. And then his brother, older brother, Sri Labudanath Tikuji, they both started multiple businesses. They had multiple trades that they did. They had a newspaper which was called newspaper that they ran at one time. They had a tailoring shop at one time, which they did, and then they were in construction business. So they did multiple things which were not heard of at the time. It
Unconventional.
was very unconventional, and one of their older uncles was Lakshmanju Tiku. He was the first engineer of his time in Kashmir. He was very renowned. I have heard stories from my father about him. And then my grandfather also was a contractor overseer. But my uncle and my father were into multiple things. And then I had a younger uncle also who was also very talented. He was the one who used to sing. He used to play the harmonium, and he used to sing and ghazals mainly. And he tutored me in the beginning. He and I would sing together at family functions. Besides that, there are multiple extended family members we have who are very talented. I have many cousins who are talented actors. They used to participate. The Tiku weddings used to be the talk of the town, and
Oh,
it
really?
was so much entertainment. There used to be the whole night, or Mehndi Raat night used to be, you know, everybody would look forward to it. They
Enjoy that.
would give you do skits. Some of my cousins were very good actors. They would do skits, monologues, and all kinds of. And the music was there. All Everybody was singing and dancing. So it was in the family. The family did have a lot of talents, and they ventured out. In fact, they were ahead of their time. I would say that, especially my father and my uncles, and they were really ahead of their times. They ventured into new
Revolutionaries in
things
one
and
way.
went, yeah, experimented with so many things. Um, so I have a lot of anecdotes from my father's time when he told me stories
You
about
can tell a few. You
his
can share a few.
time. Yes, um, he about his tailoring job. His I remember he told me that his brother was sent for training. My old uncle, he went to Pune for training to
Okay.
uh, to learn how to do um, you know proper training. And then when he came back, they started this shop, and they were doing their clients were mostly British people, and
Okay.
they were designing clothes for them. They were designing special gears and special clothes for the British people, which he told me about how they used to do it. My father also told me episodes where they started the newspaper, and every morning and whole day they would collect the stories. They would go from neighborhood to neighborhood, collect stories, and then come back and work on the publishing.
Okay.
How they did that was with very limited resources, very limited people to help out,
Mhm.
um, and then produce the newspaper, which was published every day. And then, so some of their trades were unconventional. They were given names. They were, oh,
Kashmiri Pandits have their typical
used
style
to,
all.
yeah, into suits, you know. um, which was sometimes funny to think about, but they didn't bother about these things. They were very ahead of their times and did what they wanted. I mean, I think that's what was inculcated into all the children.
Oh,
So we all did what we wanted. My sister went out and took a degree in, did a MD, MEd, and she was a gold medalist. And then she went on to work for NASA. She took a degree there, and she works in NASA
she
till
works in
till
NASA.
date.
Oh,
Yes, she's a programmer,
great.
and she's very works with top-notch
Great.
scientists. My brother, he was an engineer. He did his engineering degree here in U.S., but then later on, he switched to financial planning, and he is one of the topmost financial planner here in this country.
Oh,
Similarly, I have cousins who have done amazing work and amazing things, and girls are very well educated. They're engineers and into science, and you know, doing great things. So it was given to us from my family and my parents and my uncles, and we saw how they gave us that opportunity, told us to,
so,
gave us wings and told us to fly. So that was very lucky, and we were fortunate to have that kind of setup.
and I mean, you said that you compared the ecology, the open spaces when you recently went there, and it was really a shocking thing. Even sometimes when I look from the Shankaracharya, you feel that entire lake is encroached
So yeah,
upon.
that's another thing I wanted to add. Every Sunday, I would go with my friends because I used to bike a lot. We would go on a bike from Jawaharnagar, then keep our bikes at the base, and then do a trek every Sunday.
Okay.
And it used to be we used to time ourselves, and I remember I did the best hike to Shankaracharya was about 25 minutes. One time I did.
And oh, trekking.
Uh,
It
so
was trekking. You went through trekking only. Yeah?
tracking, yeah, there was a shortcut from the backside. We used to do
Yeah,
that.
there was a shortcut from there. Yeah, once I also trekked there.
Yeah, and so we used to do that every Sunday. Go with my friends, bike up to the base, and then go up, uh, do all those things. And I remember from my bed in my Jawaharnagar home where I used to sleep, I used to
Mm.
get up and I could see Shankaracharya from my window.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
every morning. So the window would directly, I had the Shankaracharya hill top, and part of it I could see from my window. When I used to get up, I could directly see at it, at the window. So these are some of the images, and getting up in the morning to the cool breeze. I mean, we live in Boston, it's nice and beautiful weather here in the spring. Uh, Nothing compares to that. You know, you just feel the cool breeze, the birds, the smell of the flowers,
The
uh,
songbirds,
songbirds.
miners, and
Yeah,
the visiting birds from Siberia and
yeah.
other
I
places.
mean, those were the things that we lost, and I guess they are stuck in our head. Like I said, I still cannot take, I don't want to take that image out of my head, which was going to Tulmul, going through Gandarbal, looking at the water on the side when you are sitting in the side window and you watch the stream going by with you.
Ah,
Now you cannot
that's
see
so
that.
so
Uh,
ravishing, so
what a
beautiful.
loss it is. What a loss. So,
And now even the Wular is dried up, and the Manaspal is the same thing. I mean, everything is
yeah,
gone very shrunk.
yeah,
Population is too much, and mismanagement and other things have come in.
yeah,
Anyway, let's pedal a bit further now. I mean, you basically have been a very naturalist, because I think that you were born a singer, and that later on you were trained as a singer, and you were one of the most established and known vocalists. You became one of the most established and known vocalists over the period of time. Just a piece of information, just a piece of knowledge about the music. I'd like to just interject here, and I would like to ask them, how do you differentiate between this ancient uh, hymns, which are part of our customs and traditional music system, and then our devotional music, the later Shav music, and then this, what do you call it, this Sufi music,
yeah.
and then the folk music, and then the peasant music, and then the classical, because you are trained from the Gavaliar Gharana. So we'll come to that later, slightly later.
Yeah.
Please elucidate, please tell us about, let the spectators know a bit about what is the differentiation in Kashmir about all
So,
these segments of music.
yeah. Coming to the one type of music, which it can be traced back to the Vedic times.
Yeah,
A
so
lot of
that is
work has been done on that, and the comparison of how the Vedic hymns were sung and how they traveled into the music of the valley. The Vanmun is one big piece of evidence of that shows you how the Vedic hymns were sung, and it was simple, um, repetitive, uh, style of singing in the same
but
style.
resonating,
Focus was
resonating.
on the words, and the focus was how the words would be portrayed, and it resonates. So hymns and chanting, what you call, it
Yeah,
comes with it, it was more devotional, it was more um, spiritual, as you may call it, in that sense. And then if you go to the next genre, which is the Sufi music, it came out, but it had a little more melody to it. It had a little more musical nuances were added to it, and you could feel that it had the first one you could call was more concentrated on chanting. You could,
so
as I see it, is more like chanting and keeping it simple with very few musical notes. And then you come to the simpler, the Sufi music which came about. And I think it traveled the whole of India. You can see Sufi music in that style, where you express the emotion, where you express the deep anguish or separation, like Mira's
yeah, it's about
Kabir's. You can feel that the thoughts. The music is still simple, but it's more melodic. It's more it's a simpler
spiritual
music note. It's not complex as you say, but it's more in the melodic kind of form.
melody.
Then, if you talk about folk, it had that simplicity at the same time. It had the simplicity, but the words were, more coming easily to you, more easier to you.
Rustic,
Simple, yes, it's rustic. It's more
lucid,
catchy. more catchy. It kind of comes directly to you as a tune, simple tunes that were set to that musical type of genre. Then you come to the hardcore. If you come to the more classical tones, and you see that in the Sufiana kalams of Kashmir, um, there is a set format. You have a set format of this is a particular rag, this is a particular scale, and it has these aro and avro are set,
Aro, aro.
notes are set. There's a mood to it. Every rag has to be set in the morning or evening as per the daytime timing is set for those, so that there are more rules and regulations and set up, and there you have to confine yourself into that field. So broadly speaking, that is how you can see these formats and see these different genres of music. um, and what happened in Kashmir, you could see all of them.
Okay.
You could see different genres happening at the same time. When I was growing up, um, you we had the folk music like the chakri, and everything was part
Chakri.
of, and then you ventured into picking up a little bit of the folk and designing it with a little of classical, adding a little of classical to it, and there was a little bit of fusion happening at that time as well. You could see fusions happening. You could pick up a Sufiana kalam and base a new song on it, and design
I
it.
mean, Bhajan Sopari did a lot of experimentation, this
Yes,
type of
that is the
experimentation.
time.
He
It's
is the
in
pioneer,
the late
probably.
70s, late 70s and early 80s. There was this, we call it the Renaissance period of Kashmir.
Renaissance.
Um,
Correct.
it is when great teachers and great my Guruji, Shri T.K. Jalali ji, Krishan Langu ji, Bhajan Sopuri ji, um, and many others. Virender Mohan at that time was
Virendra
one
Mohan.
of the composers at the time, and they were experimenting. And I think what happened is they all had come from bringing it influence from the Indian learning
Indian
system.
class.
And Bhajanji had traveled outside. My Guruji, T.K. Jalali, he had come from Bombay. Um, she Krishan Languji was traveling back and forth within the states, and he brought some of those influences back to the valley, and that's where the experimentation started. And I could see, you can clearly see, picking up a Sufiana kalam and mixing it with new instruments, mixing it with something new was happening right in front of our eyes, and we
I mean,
sang those melodies.
even the Santur, the Shatatantriya Veena, that was already existing in the Vedic period, and it is a mention in Katha Sarit Sagar, and that was redesigned by, Bhajanji, Bhajan
Yes,
Sopuri ji,
yes.
into a very formidable, all tune, all classical tune kind
Yeah,
of
I
an.
mean, what he did was amazing to the point that I remember him being a teacher in convent. He came the
Okay.
first time when he came back after his master's degree. Um, Aparna ji and Bhajan ji were teachers in convent when I was a student there. I think I
Okay.
was in ninth or tenth grade at the time. Um, and he started giving guitar lessons. He played guitar at the time, and he was giving guitar lessons to the students in convent. That's when I first saw him and met him. And then he designed the santur, and then he came up with profoundly did a lot of music compositions at the time during that period. Um, so he had a lot of Western music influence that he brought into the Kashmiri music.
Because he had studied abroad, and he had understood those
Yeah,
symphonies. But finally, he came to the classical, and he rooted his own through his own Baj Gharana, Sopori Gharana, and he tried to create a music of fusion.
right.
And I think this experimentation is still going on. But
Yes.
Atiji, you have been trained from the Gharana, Gavaliar Gharana, and tell us about, because training in classical music is something, because all our great movies in the past and all our great music, basically, be it anybody, Ravi Shankar or anyone, we are known by this classical. Even the changing of times, the transformations,
Yeah.
the Avengers came all along, but nothing could happen to the classical music of India.
Yeah.
So Sharan Dev had too had a play. He was a fellow Kashmiri. I mean, he was his forefathers were Kashmiris.
Yeah.
What I meant to say is that tell us something about this Gavaliar Gharana and
Of
this
course.
classical ragas you know about, and I would like you also to a bit sing, if you could do for 1 2 minutes or any of the song with it.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to my starting with training and how I was introduced to
That will be coming in next, because
okay.
it is all we'll go to and fro like an oscillator.
Yeah, so with the classical music, what happens is that when you are in, and I'm not talking of the classical music training that is given out nowadays, with few sargams and here and there. And
Yeah,
what happens with classical music is that it is so synced with science. It is very well, if you think about it, um, it is structured scientifically. It is so well. So if you have a good teacher and if you have learned classical music correctly, it is structured and based on scientific norms, really. And what it does for you is you listen more and you understand the notes, you understand the shrutis, you understand the it's not just every time a song plays you try to decode it and you try to understand the notes behind it. Was it a tivra madhyam? Was it what was it? Was it a what scale is it? So that comes to you with classical training. It is bit if you ask me what's the difference between non-trained and a trained classical trained singer, this is what it is. A singer would just, like I said, I was singing, I was copying. I would listen and copy and produce it verbatim. But I
immediate.
didn't know anything about what note is it, what am I singing, why am I singing this, what does this Tivra Madam mean for me, what does this scale mean for me, but why does Bhairav and Bhairavi have this very somber kind of mood, why is there another rag which is more frivolous, more happy in tone. You understand these nuances, you understand these subtleties only when you go through a rigorous training of.
Rigorous training. There is no escape route. Yeah,
Yeah,
it has
so
to be.
that is where, now when I listen to a song or any melody for that matter, I decode it. Okay, this is quickly it comes to, okay, this is sounds like Yaman or this sounds like something. And many times layman, like many times my husband comes up and say, hey, this song sounds like something, and they're trying to say that there's a scale which matches another, and then he forces, no, tell me which song does it match. So I have to tell him, okay, it matches this because they are both same ragas and they have this. So
There's a
for
difference. Yeah.
me it is, I decode it, I take it in, as opposed to somebody listening to it and singing it out. So
Okay.
that's what classical music brings about. It also brings about a discipline. It brings about, Indian classical music is really unique in its way. What it does is it's structured, it's very formatted, but at the same time, it gives you the freedom to explore. It gives you the freedom to do 10,000 things in the same way. So, for example, I remember I was trained on one rag for a year,
Which one?
Yaman. So
Oh,
I was not allowed to sing anything else other than Yaman till I had really. drilled it into my system. Every single composition, every combination that I could think of uh, came through my mind. And what it also did is that the mind and the voice have to balance with each other. They have to go together.
Harmonious. It needs to be
It
harmony
has
in
to be
harmony.
together. If I'm thinking of a notation, ni re ga ma re ga ma ga, it has to come out from my voice too. So that is where practice comes in.
That's true.
So the thinking and the voice have to match. That's what my Guruji used to always tell me, that your mind is thinking something, but your voice has to match it too, or your voice is going ahead, but your mind is step. So you have to really balance the two together.
What is your which is your favorite raga, Arti ji?
That is tough to say, but
Marwa
but
or
I it is very tough to pick up a rag that is
no?
there's so many.
There must be
So,
at least one or two.
but
Which,
I sang Yaman so much in the first um, year of my true learning, when I started classical music in the truest sense. Um, it comes naturally to me. To
Yaman
Yaman
is.
comes very naturally to me. It's set.
You can just recite. Can you recite a song for us in Yaman, Rag Yaman?
I can sing a little bit of. Ni re ga re ni re sa ni re ga ma pa re ga ma pa re ga re ni da ni re sa. The small little things about Yaman are that it's not just ni re gama dhani sa, or you just avoid pa and the going up and come back. Avro is sampurn. It is the way you have used pa. Pa re. There's a touch of ma and ga and re in it. So those are small little things you have to understand.
Nuances.
It's not
Nuances.
pa re sa.
Okay.
So that is the uniqueness of ragas. There might be same notes in two ragas, but they are sung very differently in both. So it gives you a total different feeling. Same notes on two ragas, but they give you a total different feeling. They're sung in a different way. So the pa re sa in Yaman is different. The pa re sa in other rag is sung differently. Um, I mean,
Yes.
it is how the Indian classical music raga system is, that it gives you the opportunity to explore through your creativity, but at the same time, there's a format you have to follow. You cannot go out of that format. There's
The
no,
syntax.
yeah.
Go to a syntax.
So it gives you that flexibility to explore, and you will
So
always
let's
you.
go back to your. Yeah. Would you like to recite some of your song
I think let's keep
later?
talking and then I'll
Later.
see.
Later. Okay, then first of all, let's go back to now from classical. I mean, that's how this program happens. We come. It's like an oscillating the pendulum of the this watch clock to clock. So we go here and there. That's why this curiosity remains always there. So let's go back to your college days and then your making of a melody. One of the most respectable, one of the most famous melody of Kashmir, parallel to Shamima ji and others. Mehraji. I mean, this Kailash Mehraji. Tell us something about your this journey, your development, your evolution, your training, and then you becoming a popular. It is before 90, before the journey before 90.
Yeah, so after the institute that I went to in Jawaharnagar under Kamal Kishore Jalaji, Rajinder Rana, again, he came back and he said, no, she needs to go to Institute of Music and Fine Arts,
Okay,
which had just opened it was in the Jawaharnagar area. It was close to Lalad Hospital. I don't know what it is called, but it
okay,
used to be Riverview Hotel used to be a place there, and so Institute of Music and Fine Arts was opened in that building under art, the Academy of Art, Culture, and Languages. It was started by
JNK Academy of Art
Cultural
Culture.
Academy. Yes, they started the Institute of Music and Fine Arts there. So I was enrolled there. Was enrolled for music, and I also was enrolled for dance. And at that time, I remember Nadim Saab's daughter, Panchsheel Kaul. She was a very close friend of mine. She used to live in Jawaharnagar too. So we both would go together. And her older sister, she also was enrolled in the dance class. So we all would all go together to the institute and walk to the place and go for our classes. So I learned Bharatnatyam for a few years also,
Hey, wow.
and
So you're into dancing as well.
a little bit. But then what happened is that my music teacher at the time, um, he insisted that I should just concentrate on music because I think I'm getting divided.
Distracted.
Attention is getting divided between dance, and so I just went for music. And from that point onwards, there was music training going on under different tutors who were part of the Institute of Music and Fine Arts, and one of them was Mr. Chatterjee at the time. He was one of my teachers, and then finally, Sri T.K. Jalali ji, my Guruji,
Okay.
who joined Institute of Music and Fine Arts. He had come from Bombay after his trainings. He
Mhm.
learned under prominent and teachers, Baba Saheb Poonchwale and Nagarkar Saab. He was their student in Bombay, and he had extensive musical training under them. And he had just come back, and he became the teacher in Institute of Music and Fine Arts. Um, and that's the point I would say my classical music journey started in earnest. And as it happened, he was also living in our house in the sense that he was a tenant in our house, and he moved in with his family, parents, and everybody. He moved into our house, so which became, like I said, the it was set up for me. Everything happened so naturally, and so I have a teacher who's there, and he took me under his tutelage, and the training started in earnest. And this was like 4 or 5 hours of training every day, every morning, like 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever time I would get up, I would go down. And they were living in the ground floor area, so I would go there. We would start our training, and that's when my actual classical training started.
Begin.
And this was really hardcore training, I can say. And what it did for me is that it disciplined me. It brought me into a kind of structured format, that this is how it is done, and I followed it.
That's
um, and I was also young at the time. I was doing in school, and then I moved on to college. I went to college. I had science as my subjects, and I kept doing science because I liked it, and wanted to pursue science at the same time. And I kept going to Institute of Music and Fine Arts for 4 5 year degree. Used to happen. We used to get a kind of under the Allahabad university. We used to get some kind of a diploma from that,
okay.
and I did that. And then I went into masters under in from Punjab University and from Allahabad University. Did that, all that, but the training kept going, and I was very dedicated to my classical training every day. My nani in the morning used to wake me up and say, "It's time for riyaz. Get up." So
That's so great.
my parents used to, carry cups of teas, and for us, and my Talali Saab's wife, Jyoti Bhavi, used to carry cups of kahwa to us while we were doing hardcore training. Um, and I had a very tough teacher, but he was giving. He gave me whatever I have. He gave me uh, unobstructedly. So it was everything that he could pour, he poured into me through that training. It was, I cannot be more lucky and thankful enough for what he um, trained me on, how he gave me the training. And it was unselfishly, he poured everything, all his trainings, his knowledge on me. So that's when I started doing that. And during that time, I obviously started auditioning in Radio Kashmir
Okay.
and got, how there used to be gradings and you had to go through auditions and things like that, and did that. Started singing in Radio Kashmir at that time. Met fellow artists. Kailash was a couple of years senior. Shamim was a few years senior. Um, and we were all, recordings were happening. We were singing in concerts together. We were traveling together to different parts of India as artists, um, going from place to place. It was a great experience at that time. So yes, that was, and when I finished my BSc from college, I had the opportunity to decide whether to go for masters in zoology or continue with my music. Um,
Okay.
it was tough because I had already secured a seat in Baroda University for zoology masters, but till the last day, I was just debating whether to do that. And then my Guruji, he kind of gave me, he said, "What are you going to do with that zoology degree? You'll become a teacher somewhere and, teach science, but think of what you can do with music. You will reach so many hearts and you will enjoy it." And I also want to say that till then, I was not taking music very seriously, to the point that it was a hobby, it was not a full profession.
Amateurish.
But as something happened at that point where I saw that, how the people react to you, how you can communicate, and how you can establish this connection with people through your music. Um, and that did it for me. And I didn't go for my master's and I didn't pursue the degree. I kept on with my music, became a full time, concentrated on it, did
vo-
programs, and from that.
Vocalist and programs, doing programs, and became a very popular vocalist there.
Yeah,
And
at that time, yeah, a lot of things were happening, a lot of new programs were happening. The scene had opened up. We had a new director at the time, Mr. Nair at Radio Kashmir.
Nair Saab.
Yes. He was into a lot of opportunities he presented for us in terms of doing big concerts in Tagore Hall. Every poet's was celebrated. We used to have a concert for Rasul Mir and Haba Khatun and Lal Ded. All these concerts were happening. A lot of recordings were happening. There was a lot of influx of artists that came from India, from the rest of the country. They came to Kashmir, so we had opportunity to listen to them, interact with them. It opened up our horizons as well. And after that, we traveled in state troops tours. We went out to Hyderabad, Calcutta.
You had the concerts all over the globe. You went to many, many countries, probably. I
We
have
went
heard that.
as, yeah, straight organized tours were happening. And the dance drama, we were part of Nadim Saab's Vitasta. I did recording for that, and we I was part of that tour as well.
You are part of this, that,
Vitasta,
Oprah, Vitasta.
opera.
Oprah of Nadim Saab. That's great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
sang in
Working,
that.
how was working with Nadim Saab? How did you?
I
I
mean,
mean,
he
you must
was there. I remember, as I said, Panchsheel, his daughter was a very close friend of mine. We used to go to the institute together, and later on, I became a faculty in the institute, and um, she was a student of art, and so she was learning painting, and she was there. So I used to go to their house almost every other day.
okay.
So I would sit there in awe of Nadim Saab, and I would just look at him that this genius of a person is sitting next in
Genius,
front of me.
great genius,
So it was such a simple man, such a family man, loving person,
humble and brilliant at the same
humble,
time.
down to earth, very simple, had no. But then when we were doing Vitasta, he was overseeing the process of how the
Entire process.
recordings were done, how the dialogues were written, and how the whole track was done. He was part of that at the time, and
He
it
was the playwright and
it
he was the
was,
director.
yeah, at the time I had not. I think I had not heard most other songs of his. I was young at the time, but then later on, now I think about it that all that poetry from came from that person, from that mind. He was what a genius of a person. Now when I listen to those other songs and poetry that he wrote, um, but
Unparalleled.
simple, humble person, extremely, um, you
His
know
poetry, I mean, spoke of music. It was naturally, there was music inbuilt in his poetry. I mean, it was
that
such a,
it was melodic to the point that I sometimes think of him as Gulzar Saab. uh, it's very musical. It's
Gulzar's earlier songs.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, some of his poetry, which is kind of, sometimes think there's a parallel somewhere. Um, so some of the poetry is like it comes from the heart, like
yeah, and creative
connected.
and imagery as well, allegory and imagery, metaphors.
Lot of
Wonderful.
metaphors, like imagery is obviously part of his poetry, but lyrical, very musical. Um,
Then we're going through your journey of, I mean, learning and Gharana, Gawaliar Gharana, where you,
yes,
Guruji Jalali Saab met you, and then further you developed. And suddenly, I want to see this graph which went up and up and up, and it had a point. It had a point where it was at its best in the valley. After valley, we'll talk about. Uh, how did it happen, and what was the point, and how popular you had become, and you were already a household name probably before nineties
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Some of the so I have to tell you a few episodes about how sometimes you feel one single song, um, and how you feel about. So we were recording this song, which is became very popular. It was a duet with Shamim and me. Hatay Ves Charane Log Ashkanaras. That song we were recording in as part of it was about 5 or 6 songs that Krishan Languji and T.K. Jalali, they were both composers of these songs. They did a bunch of these songs were recorded in Radio Kashmir, and we were recording this song, and me and Shamim both were not very happy with the composition. I don't know why, because we thought that it's very simplistic. um, it will work, not work. And and I have to tell you this: we did this recording with the least amount of resources, with the least amount of retakes, and it happened just in 1 or 2 takes, and we did it. And then when it became so, and Langu Saab kept saying, trust me, this will become a hit. Don't worry about it. You will love it. You will enjoy it when you listen to it afterward. Um, and it did. It became such a hit song that my father one time told me that he was on the site, on his construction site. And in the mornings, you would have these Aapki Farmaish kind of songs were
Yeah.
played. And there was a farmaish for this song, and the song was playing on a radio. And one of his laborers, who was working on the site, this as soon as the song came, he got up and he started dancing with it.
Oh,
And he told my father, "Wait,
okay.
first let me listen to this song." He didn't know that it was sung by me or anybody. And my father was looking at him and he said, "Why? What happened?" He says, "No, I have to listen to this song first." And it was a laborer, somebody. So it clicked with the class. It clicked with everybody. It clicked with. So that was the pinnacle of, or what you call the time we saw a lot of songs that were loved by the people. Another one that comes to my mind is with Kalash. I did another duet. We did a lot of duets together. That became such a hit. Um, some of my other songs became, very popular, and people enjoyed them. And when I used to walk on the roads and people would see me and, "Oh, this is Arti Tiku," and you get recognized, and uh,
Stardom. You are reached to the stardom
you
in a way.
feel that special attention
Attention.
attention that comes to you, which
Can you
feels
can you
nice,
can you
feels
can you
good.
sing any of those songs? Anyone for the audience?
हतई विचार नहीं लोग इश्क नारस हतई विचार नहीं लोग इश्क नारस Yarasvantay Yarasvantay Sarnai thonam kotab pyaras Sarnai thonam kotab pyaras Yarasvantay Yarasvantay हतई विचार नहीं लोग अश्क नारस टॉप सूर कोरनम यथलक चारस टॉक सूर कोरनम यथलक चारस सखमुख कोरनम मंदिनन शाम सखमुख कोरनम मंदिनन शाम शाह पर मेलूसम zoravarız Şah parmelusim zoravarız Yarasvantay Yarasvantay Hatay vischar nahi log aşk naras
Beautiful.
नजरे किस थप लश्करार नजरे किस थप लश्करार हस vesrnas न्यूनम होश हस vesrnas न्यूनम होश खबरे ये कर लोल पे मारस खबरे ये कर लोल पे मारस यारस वंतै म्योन यारस वंतै म्योन हतै विचार नहीं लोग अश्क नारस.
Great, great, beautiful.
So yeah, it touched the hearts of people. It became very popular.
You
Even
were you were you have been you have grown together. I think I don't know what is the age structure, but you, Shamima ji, and Kailash Mehra ji,
yeah,
and even Raj Begum and Sophie Saab. and Malla Sahab. They were all your contemporaries, kind, and you were the probably the stars of the ending of the previous century in Kashmir. You continued with these traditions later on, singing and practices later on. But let me know about what do you think about these all these people, all these were contemporaries. Any special word or any special
Yeah,
anecdote or anything you want to
of
convey?
course.
Their
Yeah,
genre, their style of singing.
it is unbelievable that in a time and in a place like Kashmir, with the limited kind of supportive system, limited resources, we had gems in terms of talent. I mean, these are the gems of the time. Why I say that, because with limited, trainings and limited
Limited training,
support
limited
system,
resources.
it is tough to find such gems there. Each one of them, I have worked with each
So
one of
Sufi,
them. I've seen them at very close quarters. We traveled together, went to places together, so I can talk a little bit about each one of them. Shamim is a few years older and senior to me, but we were very close when we were traveling to different parts of India. We were in a tour together. So was Kailash. We all used to kind of sleep, eat, drink, do all everything together. Very close connection. Musically, we would go together to the Radio Kashmir station together, walk together, or go together and do our recordings. The other one would wait. I would wait for Shamim, or she would wait for me when I was doing my recordings, and or rehearsals. Even during rehearsals, we were sitting and watching and waiting for each other. So there was so much connection, and a very close knit connection between us artists. Um, Raj Begum ji, I remember she was much senior and she was there. And in the beginning, she was, when she was singing, and she has so much recorded music. And but I have watched her, as you were mentioning, there was nothing written, no songs were written. She couldn't read or write. Um, it was once repeated in her ears. Somebody would repeat the song and she would sing it, the
and
note,
voice.
the words. And she never would write anything. She had nothing written where I could ever see it. Everything was in her brain, and even the new songs, even for a concert, when we were doing a concert and she was given a song, they would repeat the first line, tell her the first line, she would sing it, give the tune, and she would sing it. And the second line, somebody would say it in her ear, and then she would sing it. Same thing with Naseem Akhtar ji. She was also at the same time. They were from that genre where that's how music came naturally to her. And I remember the mics had to be set far away for them, whereas for me the mic had to be set. I have a very soft voice. The mic had to be set here,
Sitting
and
here.
for her. And I remember she sang the choral part in one of my songs, and she was standing behind with the rest of the girls. Even after she was made to stand next to the wall, she could still overpower your voice. So that's the magic of her voice. It
Came from
was
the
at
Vishuddhi
the time
chakra, probably
yeah,
higher chakra. She
she
spoke from the higher chakra.
probably didn't even need a mic. At some point she was like, keep the mics away, and it was natural how she sang.
It was a deserving Padam Shri given to her, very deserving Padam
Absolutely.
Shri.
Very natural, came from the heart, and she sang with that in mind.
And
And then
Malasa,
Mala Saab, I mean, I have to share this story with you. Vijay ji and I had a duet, and this was for the Rasul Mir concert. And this will tell you what a genius of a music person he was.
Vijay Malla was.
And I remember his singing came so naturally to him. He never made an effort. It was, we were rehearsing and practicing and polishing our songs while he was walking in and singing. That's how he was. So in one of the concerts, I remember we had a duet together, and I was rehearsing my part of it, and we rehearsed it together a few times. And then at the when our song was about to be, we were supposed to go on stage. Vijayji was nowhere, so he couldn't be found. So I'm everybody is saying, "Where's Vijay? Where's Vijay?" And nobody could find him. And I was worried that we have a cue, then you have to pick up your part, and you pick up, and we hadn't done this, and I was like worried, and in that 2 minutes before the song item, I walked
Yes,
into the stage. He walked behind. He came to the stage, and he sang his portion perfectly fine, without any effort, without any issues, while I was
anxiety.
worried about, how is it going to come up, how is it going to do. So that's the kind of a
You know,
genius of
most
a
brilliant, most
singer he
brilliance,
was.
most
It
brilliant.
came without any effort.
Actually, we always used to advise people used to advise him. I remember leave the smoking and other things because smoking was affecting, and the later uski saans pe problem aa gaya tha. The breathing issues had come,
Yeah.
but I don't know what was the reason. Anyway,
He was
you were
a
talking
must, I used to call him, he was a must malang. uh,
Basmal. Yeah, no
which
doubt.
I wish he, I'm not sure what he produced was great, and what we get to hear of his music was great. Whatever he did, it was
Whatever
effortless.
he did
But he
it was
was
marvelous.
never, over ambitious, or he didn't have the. He was not ambitious. He was like
Not
very
ambitious.
happy in
There
his
are
zone,
people like
like
that.
a
Yeah.
mast malang. This is it. This comes and comes, doesn't come, doesn't come. uh, and in many instances we used to be worried about our song or item, but he was the least worried. It just came naturally to him. So I miss him, I miss his music, and I
Great
wish
singer.
there was more for him from him.
Ghazal was he was master of ghazals.
Too well, too early.
And then we were talking
Kailash ji ka, what can I say about her? I have seen her, such a dedicated and such a hardworking person. She took everything very seriously, very, very generous, and very, very loving, caring person. Most caring, the most loving person I have in my career. Um, and whenever we went on tours and trips and things like that, we have done music together. How much hard work she put into her. She put her soul and efforts and everything into it. And her voice had this spiritual kind of connection. Whenever she sang, it
devotion.
went straight to the heart. It had this connection of some kind. It still has. Whereas Shamim's voice is very, again, spiritual connection to her voice is, again, she's such an effortless singer.
Innocent.
The
There is some
other
innocence.
thing about
Innocent.
her was her genius is that she had a great memory. She never would carry a book or songs written out. I remember we were just about to rehearse something, and somebody came and said, "Shamimji, are you ready? Uh, you are next. And where's your book? Where's your?" She said, "My book is here. The song is here." I have never seen her read through a to read the notes or read the song or sing.
Very good
So
singer.
that
She's
was
a
her
very
genius. Every singer had their genius, and the same thing goes with Hassan Sofi Saab. Um, Another level of singing, very
mystic.
very mystic. And I remember he sang at my Mehndi Raat. I
Correct.
insisted for my parents that he should come and sing, and I sat there in awe of him. Whenever he sang, I just would watch him sing and how it came out. Um, Such a natural singer.
Atiji, you moved to the West. You moved to the this place, Boston, in America, in 1993, and you were already a very, very celebrity singer here, and you were loving your singing part, and then you went there and in a different environment, in a Western environment. Uh, how was your journey, especially the music journey? How was the graph of your music the journey, the graph of your journey, musical journey there in the Boston or in America? I heard that you were teaching as well as you were performing simultaneously like that.
Yeah, so I lived in India for a while after my marriage. We were in living in Calcutta and Bombay and different cities. My husband uh, was with companies. We were traveling from one place to another. So I did a lot of music in Calcutta, in Bombay. I traveled. I recorded a lot of music in Calcutta. Sang in a lot of concerts, classical music in a lot of concerts there before we moved here. Since my family, all of my family is here. My brother, sister, and my parents were here at the time as well. So we moved here with our children. I have two sons. So we moved here in '93. That's when I wanted to keep my music alive, and so I decided to teach, start teaching from home. So I had students, about 10 of them, that used to come over the weekends where I used to teach. And then I also got involved in Kashmiri Overseas Association. I became
US.
the cultural secretary for that.
Okay.
We introduced a lot of programs. We started getting guest artists. That's when introduced that. We started getting guest artists from India for our um, yearly annual camp that we do here. And we used to invite, so that's what I introduced, to get guests here, have them tour the entire United States in different states. We have an association which has 10 chapters and 10 zonal chapters. I
Oh,
was the I held also was a zonal director, was a cultural secretary, did a lot of shows for the community here. Also did a lot of programs in Boston area as well. Teaching comes very naturally to me because I enjoy teaching also. So I did that, had some students, but then what happens is that you have students and then they get into the high school and college and they have other things to do, so they move on. But I kept as much as possible. In the last few years, I have not been teaching too much due to my work and some other things that I get
engagements,
engaged.
preoccupations.
Um, but yeah, I try my best to do as much as I
Keep in
can.
touch.
I have a granddaughter, which I hope to teach one
Oh,
day.
really?
I have a little granddaughter, so she has a really sweet
That's really
voice.
nice.
Want to keep teaching and singing it as much as I can.
That's
So
a
it,
great thing.
it has been it has been a great 30 years here, as well as I contributed through my albums as well. Uh,
Yes, I have heard about a great deal about your albums, especially your contribution to the Lalwak, and it is the two albums, and then your other albums, Yar Lakchar, and many other albums which you have sung probably with another singer. I was just watching in the morning. It's really mesmerizing. It's beautiful. Tell us something about your albums you produced and how
yeah.
famous they went. Yeah,
So the
especially
first one that I started with was called Amrit Varshun, which is my
Amrit Verse.
first album, which is the songs of Sri Govind Ji Kaul. He was a mystic poet, and I put together those songs, composed them myself, and I made the album in Salil Chaudhary's studio in Calcutta.
Arey, wow.
Salil Chaudhary's. His
Where
son,
did you live in Calcutta? It's a beautiful city. Where did
he
you live in?
yeah, I lived in Calcutta in Alipur area. We used to.
Aligarh. Oh, I always mostly whenever I go Bhawanipur is my. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
every day it's my
Calcutta.
favorite city. Favorite
Yeah,
city. Yeah,
I love Calcutta, and I had a lot of
city of
memories
joy.
there. Enjoyed it. So we did. I did that one first, and in Salil Chaudhary's, he actually helped with the music, portion of it. His son actually played in it. His son and another musician, they were playing in it, and they did the music, part of the music scores of it. Um, that was very well received as well, and has beautiful songs of Govinji. And then the second one which I did was Lalwak, which was in two parts. And I think it had 120 walks, which I remember, if I don't remember, 120 walks. I collaborated that with Mr. Virender Kazi, and he actually is into lot into Laleshwari's work. And I was in Calcutta, and he put together the whole list of walks that I picked from the books, and then we went over it with some, exponents of Laleshwari's work, and we went over each and every walk. I made sure that they were correctly recited and composed. It
properly
was a
written
tough work, and we did the whole recording in one day, 120 walks.
in
Uh,
one day. Wow.
Marathon session, yes, morning to evening. I recorded the whole thing, and then next day we did some editing and stuff like that. But the recording happened in one day. Um, that was also done in Salil Chaudhary's
Studio.
studio, and in Calcutta. It had recently been, and I remember I went to his home, Salil's home,
Salila's home.
and he overseed the whole proceeding, the process, and gave me input and what to do and things like that. So he was
A
he
legend.
enjoyed he was very, he liked the music, he liked the outcome was pretty good. um, and so that happened in I think after that. The third one which we did was with my Guruji. He composed the songs, that is called um, uh,
Marin
that
something.
was the third one we did with Archana and I did it together. Manikamna is the name of,
Manika. Yes. Yeah.
and that was very well. It was also produced by the Kashmiri Overseas Association. They produced it and they sponsored it. It was very well received. And Archana, she's my Guru Behan. She's one of the most prominent singers of the time now. She's really excellent work that she is doing and still singing, which we did together. And that was, again, we recorded that in Calcutta in a different studio. And my Guruji did the music. He composed all the songs. I don't know if you have heard that. It's very popular as
No,
well.
I was just today I was trying to play. I found two singers, and I found probably this is a song I must listen
Yeah,
because
you,
I had a totally busy schedule for the complete day. I
yeah.
wanted to do it on the way, but I was with people, so I
The
could not.
funny thing is that I think people have picked up these albums, my albums, and reproduce them, and they are selling them, and I don't know what they are doing with them, but they are online. As long as people are able to hear them and enjoy them, I'm fine with it.
You're
um,
fine.
so
That's what
Manikamna is the same thing. And then the last one I did was called Yar Lokchar.
Yar
That
Lakchar.
is
It's a
my,
folk song.
it is all folk, and
Yeah.
it has a couple of songs that I wrote. I wrote a song on Exodus, which is called Wathiv Sari Tarabgar, and it's on YouTube. You may be able to hear it. Um,
With his
that
Sairi
was
Taravagar.
that is the song I wrote after my parents had to sell the home back, my Jawaharnagar home, and it just came as a stream of thought, and I wrote the whole song, and then I composed it and put it in this album. It's called Yar Lokchar. So those are the works that I have done. And even besides that, I remember we also did one very first one album with Ashok Pandit, Pandit's grandmother. She was Bhagyawani, her name was. She was also a
Okay.
Sufi poet, and she had some. She used to write, not write, she would say the poetry and somebody would write it. So
Recite.
we did a album based on her songs with Mohanlal Ahmad. He
Yes,
composed
Maula
it.
Lama Saab, I wanted to know because you
Yeah,
have worked with him as well. Yeah,
right.
a
So
great man, a great
he
musician.
composed those songs, and Rita Kolji was sang for that, and I sang for that, and um, that was one of the very first albums I did in Bombay with that time. So yeah,
Mhm.
those are the works we did, and besides that, there's a lot of work we did in Radio Kashmir and television and concerts.
Concerts, I mean, you traveled all over the globe with your
Yeah,
concerts.
traveled a lot. We traveled to Venezuela, we traveled to West
Peninsula.
Indies,
Yeah.
and the rest of India, and
And what was the response? People used to throng. I mean, all this.
in we came as we were a troop from India, and Kashmir was a special focus at the time. So we came to Venezuela as a tour in a troop, multiple artists, and from Jammu and Kashmir, and I was part of that troop. So it's like language doesn't matter at that
Music
point.
transcends language. Yeah, that's true.
Transcends, and people connect to your music. It can connect to
That's
the sound, to the
so.
instruments, the unique instruments we have. We had a rabab player, we had some other instruments that we had brought
Santoor as
with
well.
us.
Yeah.
Santoor as well, yeah. We had another player who was Santoor player with us. So yeah, traveling to different parts of the world, presenting our music to them. It's a very enriching experience.
Experience. Yeah,
It
it's
gives
always
you
creative.
it
It's
gives you immense
creative thing.
pleasure to present what we have learned and what we have in our culture.
It's
So
refreshing.
yeah,
Always refreshing, rejuvenating.
right.
I think I want to know one thing. You were there since 3 decades in Boston, in USA, along with his family, and the Western music. Do you could you differentiate in a very broader sense? I don't want to go into the deeper nuances of it. In a very broader sense, is the Kashmiri music, the classical, Indian classical, and Western symphonies. And one more thing I really want to ask: I've seen Shamima ji singing in multiple languages. She even sang in Dogri. She even sang in South Indian languages. Did you ever try to sing in the Western? Because I don't think it would have been much difficult for a person like you to sing the Western,
Yeah.
maybe in any form, and or any language for that matter.
I have sung in Dogri. I have recorded music in Dogri, and Gojri and Dogri and
Koji.
Bengali as well.
Bengali
Um,
is Mishto. It's Mishto. Dogri is also Mishto, and Bengali is also Mishto.
Dogri, I
Same
remember I
languages.
sang with those. It comes naturally. I mean, if I have to, a singer has that ability to pick up the words and be able to. I mean,
Notes.
I've seen Runa Lala in front of my eyes. I saw how she sang the Kashmiri song so effortlessly. She learned it and sang it
Yeah.
in the
All
concert.
the
So, language comes. So I haven't tried Western.
okay.
No, I haven't, because I think the type of training in classical I got, and the type of music I was trained on, used to, it kind of binds you to that. But I enjoy listening. I do
Western.
enjoy other music. I
We used
enjoy,
to listen to these songs of Boney M, ABBA,
of course.
Grammy, right from the beginning.
Yeah, no, that comes naturally to you. I mean, you can listen to it, you can enjoy it, you appreciate it, uh, all that, absolutely. But I have not tried to sing Western music. I first of all never had the opportunity, or I don't know if it is going to be that easy to sing it, but it is possible. You can always do that.
Yeah, you can always do it. I saw this Kapil Sharma singing, although he behaves in his show that he doesn't know English, but he's a well versed with English. He was at
Right,
the Netflix and he devoted one song to his father. It was English,
right,
and
right. I saw that. I saw
it
that.
was beautifully he sang.
Yeah,
Beautifully he
no,
sang. He's a very
absolutely.
good singer. Very
if
good
you're an
singer.
artist and you have the ability to pick up and copy and sing, you can sing anything. It's not something you cannot do it. But as a choice, I guess I'm more inclined towards Indian classical and classical folk. Folk and is something I also enjoy listening to. But any experimentations in Western and I listen to a lot of those new singers nowadays who experiment with ragas and base it on
Western symphonies, yeah.
Western symphonies. I enjoy those things.
It had happened, and probably they did it. There was a Zubin Mehta had come in Kashmir, no?
Right.
When Abhay played with
Abhay had,
along with Zubin Mehta.
yeah,
It was a
Abhay had
great,
that.
great, wonderful, wonderful
Yeah,
synthesis.
I mean, those are the things, if done well, if done correctly,
Professionally
they're
well, yeah.
pleasing. They're very pleasing to listen to. Uh,
Everything has to be dealt professionally and very precisely, precision
exactly.
with the
So you
precision.
have to know what you're doing. If you
First of
randomly pick up something and try to combine it together,
yeah.
it may not work. So you have to be careful about how you do these things. And if the fusions are done correctly, they sound right. Uh, they're enjoyable, of course.
Aditi, whom do you think about the new Kashmiri singers, especially after your batch? Who are the, male as well as female?
Yeah, no,
Who do you,
the
yeah.
the ones that I have been listening to is Archana is doing
Archana,
fabulously.
I've
Yes,
heard her once. She was a very
yeah,
good singer. She's a
she
very good
is
singer.
very well trained, and you can hear the nuances of the classical music in her music. She's doing outstandingly well. Nirja Pandit is doing great. I have I am very close to the family. I'm close to her.
Does she sing well?
This is
Nirja is a good singer. She's a well.
absolutely very good singer. Nirja Pandit.
What
She
about Dipali Vatal? Dipali
Dipali
Vatal.
Vatal is good. She was here in US. We had invited her to US, and I have heard her. She's has a great voice, sings very well. I've also been listening to lovely Chandra, which I feel she has a
Uh,
beautiful voice. Really, really nice voice. And I heard her a few times on Facebook. I have never had the chance to listen to any of these singers, except Nirja. I knew she used to sing with us back when I was singing, and I know Archana for sure. But I had not heard Lovely and Deepali. They're doing great. They're wonderful singers. And I'm sure from the valley there are more singers. I keep listening to some new voices. So there is hope. And there is, I recently heard, I forgot her name, a young girl singing
yeah,
recently.
there are wonderful singers from Valley as well.
She is doing very well. So the only thing is that, the more training and good training you get, the better
Support,
singers will
training,
be, and you
all
will be
this.
sustainable. It will be sustainable for a long time. What with me, I think what I got in training was so profound and so in depth that I could sustain it for a longer time. I may not be,
Even
I'm not prominently singing right now or actively singing right now, but I carried that knowledge or training with me for a long time. So
so
even though
true.
I don't practice too much, I don't, haven't done practice too much, but it sustains you. It gives you the creative ability to compose and to do things with it. So that's what
Creative
my training
satisfaction.
did, and all thanks to my Guruji, who built that into me and drilled it into me at the right time.
Yes, that's really a great, fortunate story that you got a right environment, right environment support system. Then the people started coming and nature started helping you out, and you became popular. Until now, you are breathing the music. That's so wonderful. Uh, Neeraji, I would like to say I'm very fond of classical music, especially filmy. I must think that you must have the liking of some movie other than Guide, or even if you can decide anyone from the Guide, the classical one. I
Mm,
don't know. Uh, we'll conclude it with that, and then I'll put a last question, and then we'll
okay.
say it.
I mean, there's so many songs which come to my mind. I mean, Pia Tose is one of the
Yeah,
classically,
those are you sang in the beginning.
yeah. Uh, I think in the same things. Film music. I have. I mean, I listen to it, but not too much. But at the same time, old songs. Those are the old
Yeah,
ones.
Rafi
Give me
songs,
a couple of. I can try to remember.
anyone to your choice.
Um, this one song is coming to mind. Hmm. जुर्मे उल्फत पे हमें लोग सजा देते हैं जुर्मे उल्फत पे हमें लोग सजा देते हैं कैसे नादान है शोलों को हवा देते हैं कैसे नादान है जुर्मे उल्फत पे हमें लोग सजा देते हैं कैसे नादान है शोलों को हवा देते हैं कैसे नादान है two lines
Thank you very much. I mean,
as you grow older the memory fades and so things don't come to your mind
it
well,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, whenever you recall anything, it gradually, slowly starts
of
coming.
course.
Uh, I would like to say that before you go, what is your message to the upcoming artists of the community, as well as I mean all the communities, whosoever are our spectators right now? What is the thrust area? What is the keen and loud message, learning from your life and experience from your life, you would like to convey, or rather, guide the younger generation
Yeah,
pursuing
so same thing I would say is learning
learn.
and not what I'm seeing nowadays is that these young kids if they have talent the first thing they want to do is um, come up on Facebook and come up on YouTube and start singing and singing live and trying to so with my experience, what I noticed, I was not allowed to sing in public till a certain point. I remember my Guruji's always made sure that, and that is what the Gurukul type of system taught you not to sing until you're ready for that. And there is a certain timeline till you should not try to be, and it's a technological era where we get very attracted to putting your child on the TV, on the
Yeah,
social media. This is the
instant.
talent we have. Listen to her. She's out there. She's ready. So try to not do for this is for serious singers who are serious in uh, getting their talent to a certain point and not coming out in the public right away.
That
Learning is key. Find good teacher and learn for some time. Please don't be in a rush to sing publicly till you're
start
ready. Till you're
come to
ready.
the start. Yeah,
Ready means you have had some years of training, you've had some experience with music and are able to sing. Refrain from coming on social media right away and singing up right away.
it,
That's a very traditional, and I have seen that it helps. It helps you. I'm talking from experience because I didn't sing for a while in front of audiences till I was ready, and when I was really ready. And then you should go, you'll have the confidence, you will have, it will sustain you for a long time. That is one piece of advice that I would give from my experience. And don't be you know carried away by people saying that you are the prodigy, you are the best, get on with it,
dazzle,
go saregama,
dazzle, dazzle,
go
and
on
hallucinate.
saregama, go on this thing. It takes a long time. I
It's a
am.
tapasya.
It
It's a
is
tapasya.
not a one
Penance.
day, 1 year, because I get students sometimes and they say, how soon can I sing? How soon can you put her on the stage? You cannot. You cannot be on the stage. So this is an advice to parents as well as to the students who are, doing music only to be on stage and be able to sing. You should first learn to sing for yourself, learn to enjoy and sing for yourself, learn to listen to your teachers. And this is an advice to parents, teachers, and the singers. Refrain from going public so too early.
Falling to the dazzle of and this
But
hallucinating dazzle around. Yeah,
that is, I think it will help serious students, serious artists who want to keep it and want to take it to professionally. Then they should go by the book. Try to do things in the right time, in the right format, um, and wait. Have patience. This needs a lot of
that
patience.
is the key. Patience is the key.
Patience is something they need to have.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Atiji. It
Thank you
was a great.
for this
It
session. It was really
was,
refreshing and it was really helpful. It gave me a venue and an avenue to talk about my experiences, which probably we never do. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks a lot, Atiji. This was a great pleasure, great honor. It was enchanting, very, very experiential. We enjoyed the entire this crisscross through your amble through your journey, and it was wonderful talking to you. Certainly, this will be a memorable experience,
Thank you,
memorable show
Vipulji.
for all of
Keep
us.
doing the good work, and your
Thank you.
these conversations are very helpful for people. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful day,
Thank you.
morning there, and best of luck. Good health.
Thank you for everybody who listened, and to your audiences. I am grateful for listening to me. Thank you.
Goodbye and good luck.
Thanks.
So that was Arti Tiku Kaul, the legendary singer, the one of the nightingales who was at the epitome of her fame in the ending of the previous century and still continues with his work. Very inspiring personality and very komal, very polite, very sweet melody. She also recited one, two, three liner songs, and it was really, really exhilarating, and we were really, it was evocative, and her contribution is immense, and she's enjoying it, and she's an inspiring personality. I think you all enjoyed this wonderful session today with RTG, and thank you very much for being and gluing into this program. And we'll be meeting again next Sunday with another special guest. Till then, goodbye and good night.